Hello and welcome to Unsourced Wall. My name is Elvis, and as always, I'm your host. Alright, so this is going to be kind of a short one because, yes, I know Black Widow came out, but the official roundtable review discussion of that is going to be held on UHthority in a new episode coming out sometime next week. So please be on the lookout for that. If you're interested in hearing all of our thoughts on it, it's going to be a really fun episode. We recorded it just the other day, and we go hog wild. So please be on the lookout for that. I only read like a couple of things this week, so we're going to look into those, and then also the newest episode of Loki right before the season finale, because, big news, it's apparently been renewed for season 2. Now, I am hopeful. I hope that they've learned from the mistakes of season 1. I think season 1 is a complete waste. There are bright spots, there are highlights, but it's nothing that couldn't have been stripped down and restructured like 99% of it. So yeah, I think that there are people who are framing this as, okay, yes, so this is all set up for season 2. And that's not a good way to show run. It's like saving all this stuff for the sequel in the movie trilogy, except on a longer weekly basis. But yeah, fingers crossed, and hope that it's much, much, much better. And speaking of terms of MCU shows, we did get the first trailer for the What If cartoon. And I have to say, this would be a lot more exciting if it wasn't entirely MCU based, because that really limits it. And going by the trailer, it's like, what if this character met this character from this movie, or what if these two movie characters did this instead, or what if movie characters put zombies? And like, there's a lot of weird what ifs that you can do, and it feels very rote and one note. So fingers crossed as well, you know. Anyway, let's move into what I read this week. First off, we have Immortal Hulk number 48. Which I thought was actually pretty good. It's like the big issue before the 2-part finale, and I am just in love with it. I am in love with it for so many reasons. One, I think that, surprisingly enough anything, this has become the Joe Fixit run. This has become a seminal Joe Fixit run. I think that Ewing has made a really great tack for the Grey Hulk, for what he's about, for how he relates to Banner, and for everything that he's gone through in terms of dynamics with the rest of the cast of the Hulk franchise. And this issue really, I guess, hammers that home. It's just basically a heart-to-heart between him and Betty, and it's so, like, emotionally fraught. That's the thing. It's something that really showcases why Joe Fixit is necessary, but also how he's part of the toxicity that Banner sort of engenders because of his insecurities and his just his own weaknesses. And it's something that I think really flourishes and really fleshes out the Grey Hulk, Joe Fixit. And yeah, no, I love it. It's maybe a little bit too low key to be like, okay, we're 2 issues from the ending, but it's really well welcome. And I wish that there was more. I wish there was more time here. I wish that we could have like another 30 issues only about Joe Fixit. It seemed like we just got him back, and it's about to be over. But yeah, fingers crossed. I really enjoy this issue. It's something that I've been waiting for a long time. It does leave the Bruce Banner Hulk Betty dynamic on a good note. I mean, in terms of storytelling, not exactly in terms of where they are. It leaves that way open ended, and I think that's like the good call. I mean, she and Joe Fixit did have like a kind of connection and a kind of payoff to their own little flirtation, and I thought it was really well earned. But in terms of like where they are, it leaves it ambiguous enough that a future writer can come in and do what they want with it. And I think that's the good call, because it's a huge tangled mess of things that trying to get it done in like 2 issues wouldn't be a service to it. It would be a huge disservice to it. So fingers crossed. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see what happens next. It seems like it's gonna be a really wild time. So fingers crossed. Overall, 2 thumbs up. Anyway, after that, I read Hellions, and let's just go through the whole X-Week stuff that we went through. Okay, Hellions was amazing. I think that, again, this is a series that's really firing on all pistons when it understands that for a team as kind of insane and as wacky and as madcap as this, they need to have plots that are equally on that level. That's why I don't think the first couple of arcs worked, because the plots they went up against and the villains they went up against were so boring and tedious in comparison to like these big personalities. So you're not really working on the same level, and it feels like everything's getting dragged down in terms of potential. Meanwhile, the start of this new arc with these characters, we're getting, I guess, Hellions versus like Araco Hellions, and it's incredible. Like we have Sinister just really going toe to toe with himself, and it just means that a lot of the character dynamics are bouncing off the wall. Yeah, it's great. I think that the voices of the characters have always been the strongest suit of this series, and so when you get all of them in a room, and that being the plot, it's it leads to a lot of great panels, a lot of great interactions, a lot of great dialogue. So I was entertained like thoroughly from beginning to end, and I just love that we're also getting payoffs to the previous arcade arc and also the other stuff from the Hellfire Gala that was set up. It's something that where yes, you're coming to the series to read like these funny interactions, but there's an emotional quotient that isn't being ignored, and honestly, I think it's it's really good. Like in the Hellfire Gala, one of the things that what made that issue special is that you saw a lot of camaraderie, and now we're really digging into why the camaraderie is both earnest but also a ticking time bomb. And I thought that was like something that really led to a lot of engagement on my end. I can't wait to see what happens with that. So yeah, 2 thumbs up to that. And then I also read XForce, decent issue. I'm not in love with it. I think that this series is maybe losing a little bit of steam. I mean, I still think that the plots and the stakes are interesting enough. I'm really interested in seeing where the Beast plot is going to go, and like when this is all gonna like really erupt. But overall, I'm kind of tired of waiting. In terms of a lot of the other X stuff I'm reading, it's tediously low energy at times. There's not much I can say about it other than that, honestly. It's just that kind of book. Overall, 1 thumb up, 1 thumb middle. And let's move on to Children of Adam number 5, the penultimate issue of this first arc. And I actually really love this issue. It is, admittedly, and people have started saying this, an incredibly awkward issue because, and this is something I mentioned from the very first issue I reviewed. You can go back and listen. I did mention this. The allegory just does not hold water. Like, there is this weirdly trans allegory to the Children of Adam, and I don't mean weirdly in that sense. I mean weirdly in that this is framing it as not like a trans story, but these characters who are just like, again, it doesn't make sense when it's about superpowers and stuff like that, or when it's something that you can't integrate in that way without having the characters like actually be mutants. And if they're not, then what are they? And mutants is like a race and also like a species, and it's just something that doesn't hold water when you try to frame it like that. And we get like the payoff to it in this issue, but as people have noted, when you kind of push all of those frameworks and metaphors together into like one story, it's gonna feel unfulfilling, unsubstantial, and honestly underdeveloped at the end of it. And yes, it does. It really does. Like, the kids get a slap on the wrist, and it's that's as far as it goes. Like, Cyclops is, oh, thanks, kids. We're flattered, but stop doing this. That kind of thing. And okay, like, you didn't have to go as far as you did with this kind of like thematic tether, if that was gonna be your like solution or that dynamic payoff to it, because it feels a little bit undercooked. But other than that, I thought the issue was really fun. I thought that, like all the other issues, at least some of the good ones, it has a very youthful vibe. We're getting the POV of Nighty Nightcrawler or Daycrawler. I like Daycrawler better, where you're seeing his point of view, we're seeing his thoughts and like how he feels his place in the team is. And I think that he has like the strongest POV so far. It's probably due to the fact that it's a lot less soapy, a lot less melodramatic. There's a lot less teen drama going on because he's like a little kid. But it's also maybe because this is an action-packed issue, so he's able to do things on the fly, and it keeps momentum going while we're getting thoughts of his like inner emotional turmoil. And there's a lot of great dynamic stuff here. Like I think that his and Marvel Lad's sort of like brotherhood, because they are like stepbrothers or something, is like honestly really engaging, entertaining, and I can't wait to see more of that. And another great point in this issue is that we do start to see like the children of Adam fighting side by side with their adult counterparts, and I love shit like that. I love when like things like that happen, when you see some synchronicity. Yeah, I thought that was really fun, really entertaining, and I just love the energy of this book. You know, it's not perfect, and it's definitely all over the place, but it's also still really fun. And I hope that if it does get a second arc, and it seems like it is, who knows? Marvel sometimes just lists things just to trick and sidetrack people, that they learn from their mistakes and that we get something even more improved. So fingers crossed. And I think that's about it. I didn't get a chance to read X-Men #1 yet. I'll do that next week. But yeah, I hope to enjoy that as well. And anyway, let's move on to what I watched this week. We have Loki episode 5, the penultimate episode, and it is okay. It is okay. It's not as good as last week. It's just decent. I think that a lot of people have become like obsessed with the idea that this show is like wacky insanity, and it's not. It's very tedious, and all the stuff it does that's wacky are like the bare bones you could do. I mean, in this episode we get like alligator Loki, which is Loki was an alligator, and they make like 10 jokes about it, and all the jokes are, wait a minute, you mean that's Loki? It's ridiculous, and it's overplayed, it's overcooked, and it's like beating a dead horse, honestly, in terms of how much they try to force that joke. But people are like, oh, the show is so crazy. No, it's not, and this is a boring episode outside of a few character highlights. Like that's just what this episode is. It's a lot of mulling around, it's a lot of walking around, it's a lot of tedious pondering around, and the stuff that really matters in terms of emotional engagement happens in like the second half of the episode. Like you could cut the first half and you would lose nothing. Nothing would change about it. And I think that could count for most of the episodes. This show is just so pointlessly long. And I think that really structuring it more tightly would have helped a lot, because there's some great stuff here. Like I think that when you get to the halfway mark, a lot of the characters actually start to, get something going. Like even stuff like old Loki or classic Loki, who has been like this fan favorite, and for good reason. It has a great little character beat, and he has a good monologue explaining that character beat. I would have loved to see like more of that character sort of be introduced throughout the episode, like maybe a beef of his role. But no, we get a lot of walking around, mulling around, and bad, pointless jokes. So this show could have been so much better, and that's all I'm gonna say. And this episode was a weaker one. It has some good moments, but doesn't change the fact that you could have improved this episode so much by doing just a little. Anyway, overall, one thumb middle. And hopefully the season finale is good, but I'm not expecting much. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I want to give a shout out to Chorus for a show at DOTEMCE. Please check them out. They're amazing. And like I said, please check out next week's Comics Code Authority episode. We're doing a Black Widow roundtable, and it's going to be a hilarious, wild time. Hope you enjoy it. I'll put the link down below. And yeah, have a great one. See you again next time, and be safe.